All right, let's just dive straight into a universal tech frustration. I mean, we've all been there, right? Today's explainer is all about a massive, modern mathematical heist that literally happens every single time you upgrade your computer's storage. Yep, we're cracking the case of the missing gigabytes.
So picture this. You go out, buy a brand new, shiny 1 terabyte hard drive, plug it in, and what happens? Your computer stubbornly insists you only have about 931 gigabytes of usable space. It's kind of infuriating. Every IT pro and home user has paused at this exact moment and thought, wait, where did the rest of my gigabytes go? Did they, fall out of the box on the way home? You buy a terabyte, your system reads 931 gigs, and boom, millions of bytes just seemingly vanish into thin air. Well, to solve this mystery and actually empower you as a consumer, we need to expose a pretty massive math trick that's been hiding in plain sight. And hey, don't worry, it's absolutely not your fault if you've been confused by this. The big question is, are manufacturers scamming us, or is this just math? It really all comes down to how different parts of the tech world count.
To really wrap our heads around this, we have to travel back to the 1960s. Computer scientists back then realized that 2 to the power of 10 equals exactly 1024. Now, as you can see, that number is incredibly close to a flat 1000, which is 10 to the power of 3. Because these numbers were just so close, the industry took a bit of a lazy historical shortcut. They basically decided, hey, let's just let both base 10 and base 2 measurements share the exact same prefix, kilo.
And wow, does that brilliantly highlight the root of our entire modern problem? I mean, does kilo mean exactly 1,000 of something, like when we're measuring electrical voltage? Or does it mean 1,024 of something, like the bytes in your computer files? That close enough shortcut from the 60s essentially created a mass confusion that is still going strong today, literally pitting hardware marketing against software reality.
When you chart this divergence out, the core issue becomes super obvious. Hardware manufacturers, they use the power of 10 side for disk size. So to them, a gigabyte is exactly 1 billion bytes, nice and round. But your computer doesn't think like that. It operates natively in binary, reading memory and formatting drives using the power of 2 side. So your operating system takes that flat billion and divides it by 1024, not 1,000. And just like that, your marketed 1 terabyte instantly shrinks down to 931 gigabytes on your screen.
Okay, let's look at a real-world showdown to see how this builds into a seriously costly trap, especially if you're buying multi-gigabyte enterprise-class storage. Imagine you're an IT buyer. You've got 2 options for a massive disk array. Manufacturer X is offering 12 250 gigabyte drives for $20,000. Manufacturer Y is offering 12 212.5 gigabyte drives for $21,000.
Now, right on the surface, if we just do some quick division, Manufacturer X looks like an absolute steal, right? They're coming in at roughly $6.67 per gigabyte. Meanwhile, Manufacturer Y is sitting at a higher price point of $8.24 per gigabyte. Most folks who don't know the backstory would just stop right there, declare a massive victory for their budget, and write a check to Manufacturer X. But they would be making a huge mistake. Because when you actually dig into the fine print, which is absolutely crucial here, you realize Manufacturer X is playing that prefix game we just talked about. They are citing unformatted base 10 gigabytes. First of all, formatting a drive eats up to 16% of the space right out of the gate. Secondly, because it's base 10, that supposed 250 gigabyte drive is actually only 232.8 base 2 gigabytes to your computer before it's even formatted. Manufacturer Y, on the other hand, no games. They are quoting fully formatted base 2 gigabytes.
So after you do the proper math and get down to the actual usable space, Manufacturer X's 250 gigabytes completely drop to about 197.9 real gigabytes per drive. That spikes their real cost up to $8.42 per gigabyte. Manufacturer Y, they stay steady at $8.24. So Manufacturer Y is actually the cheaper, much more honest option. See, as an educated consumer, understanding this Redux math literally saves you money. To solve this exact discrepancy, the International Electrotechnical Commission, alongside the National Institute of Standards and Technology, finally stepped in. They approved a brand new standard to clearly separate binary prefixes from decimal ones, basically trying to stop the marketing madness. They introduced the kilobyte, which stands for kilo binary byte. A kilobyte means exactly 1,024 bytes, which beautifully frees up the standard kilobyte to mean exactly 1,000 bytes. Simple, right? By just popping an I in there, we get a whole new set of accurate prefixes that describe exactly how computers actually work.
So what we traditionally called a megabyte becomes a MIBbyte, representing exactly 2 to the power of 20 bytes. A gigabyte becomes a GBbyte. A terabyte becomes a tebibyte. Now look, industry adoption has definitely been pretty frustratingly slow, but just understanding this bib standard empowers you to finally see through the fog between hardware marketing and actual software reality. And while mastering these prefixes is great for us everyday consumers, we really need to understand these measurements because the scale of global data is just absolutely exploding. We are moving far, far beyond the gigabytes and terabytes on our local hard drives. To put things into perspective, it's estimated that the NSA collects roughly 2 million gigabytes of data every single hour. Yeah, you heard that right. The sheer volume is so immense that the capacity of their Bluffdale data center isn't even measured in terabytes or even petabytes. Its capacity is measured in zettabytes. That is a staggering 10 to the power of 21. They literally use water-cooled supercomputers operating at 100 petaflops just to analyze it all. And with global internet traffic just skyrocketing, a lot of people hypothesize a rapid storage expansion into thousands of zettabytes, which brings us to the absolutely astronomical yottabyte, 10 to the power of 24. With smartphones, massive cloud computing, and global internet traffic generating unprecedented amounts of data every single millisecond, we are hurtling right toward the absolute edge of our current measurement systems. So the mind-expanding question we're left with as we wrap up this explainer is simply this: when we inevitably outgrow the yottabyte, are you ready for the brontobyte?